Welcome to the Love What You Do podcast. I'm your host, Doug Shapiro. These are the conversations that open doors to what's possible when you love what you do. Well, Jane, welcome to the Love What You Do podcast.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here. Designer at Perkins Eastman.
Yes.
Beekeeper.
Entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Clothing designer or accessory designer?
Just primarily in enamel pins.
Okay.
But at Perkins Eastman, I'm in our Pittsburgh studio. I work within our workplace and college and university practice areas. I also work with our workplace strategy teams and also have a slightly new role as kind of a materials specialist, helping Perkins Eastman roll out different material health initiatives and oversee our overall strategy across the entire enterprise.
Awesome. Well, I know that's a personal passion of yours, as is Pittsburgh. I'm sure we'll get a taste of all of that today. I did ask you to help me think of some provocative questions, like questions that could get other people thinking differently, no matter what the subject. And I thought this was a really interesting one, which is, how can humor help better the planet? And it's like, okay, I know how humor can help better people. You're going to have to take me there.
Okay. Is this a great time to talk about my books that I have?
Yeah, let's just tell us about what you've got going on here.
Okay. So through the conversation today, I am going to reference a couple of books from some authors that I've found that have been recommended to me that I think is going to support our conversation, including how can humor help support our climate conversations. But I have to make a confession. I have not finished reading any of these books that I'm going to mention today. So while I have ideas from these conversations, and none of these books exactly are about directly related to climate. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But I think that there are interesting anecdotes that you can take from these conversations or from these books, and that we can apply to different conversations, including climate. Because climate, for example, is very, doom and gloom at times. Or when it comes to material health and ingredient transparency, we know it has to be durable, it has to be beautiful, and it has to be priced right. Blah, blah, blah. We've heard it. I'm interested in taking the conversation beyond that, looking at what really can intrigue and empower designers to want to make really responsible specifications out of the products that they're incorporating into their projects. So the first one about how to incorporate humor, the first book is called Do You Talk Funny by David Nihill.
Let's see the book here.
This book was recommended to me by a friend. It is about a gentleman named David Nihill who was terrified of public speaking. So again, not related to climate change or climate health by any means. So what he did was he spent months becoming a comedian. He donned the stage name Irish Dave. He's Irish and his name is Dave.
Okay.
And he learned about the art of storytelling, entertainment, all of these different attributes from comedians that you can incorporate into becoming a more engaging public speaker. But I think that this is really relevant to climate conversation too. Again, to step away from the doom and gloom and the stress of, what if everything that I specify isn't like just perfect? But how can we have fun while doing it and make people feel good about the selections as well?
This is speaking to the heart of what we're trying to do. This is love what you do. Everything we do, there needs to be an element. Isn't that a Mary Poppins statement? Like everything you do, there needs to be an element of fun. I feel like I just stole that from her.
Credit Mary Poppins.
Yeah, credit Mary Poppins and Irish Dave.
And also, who doesn't like to feel good about what they're doing, feel good about communicating that to the client, and you also feel good at the end of, a rom-com movie. So if we think about incorporating just that joy and fun into our conversation, it helps make the conversation around material health and climate change, breaking down those barriers. It's a little bit more friendly. There's lots of acronyms and ingredients and science behind it. And trust me, I went to art school. And those acronyms and letters and hard to pronounce things, it's really daunting. And so I'm eager to look at how some of the comedy habits from this book could be incorporated into the ways that I'm communicating with my teams, communicating with our client, why this is important and engaging and something that they're interested in and want to promote. And how can we can't do this without our manufacturer friends.
Of course.
And we need everyone together, our contractors, our installers to be along with us. So, no one enjoys just being, told directions or feeling that like doom and gloom of the pressure of, we specify a lot of things, and how can we feel better about doing it both from the heart of specifying good things, but also communicating in a way that makes it more enjoyable.
I love that. I love that, there's this language element to it, right? So you can communicate, you can bring language in that makes something more fun, right? But there's, I interviewed someone a while ago. Manny Navarro was his name. You know Manny.
I know Manny.
Of course you do.
Shout out Manny.
And he was talking about how there was a moment when like things were getting really serious in some of the virtual meetings they were having with a general contractor, and they decided to just wear wigs. They just went for it, right? And like it went over really well. To the point where they're like, all of a sudden, this group, along with the client they were working with, they brought their own fun, their own dress up to these meetings, and it became something everyone looked forward to. Now there's a closet full of wigs,
I've seen pictures of this, yeah.
Yes, and it's like, we probably overlook the impact, like what everybody's wanting. Like everybody wants that.
Yeah, really just that level of joy is so relatable. Whenever the infectiousness of love what you do, it really carries through to the people that you're communicating with. And so when you're speaking in a fun way and you're passionate about what you're doing and you look like you're having fun while you're doing it, that can really make an impact, not just to your clients, but to the next generation of designers and architects who are job shadowing us. We're at Perkins Eastman, every year, many of our studios are involved in the ACE student mentoring program, which is an after-school program for high school students to learn about architecture, construction, and engineering, and also interior design. We host a really fun interior design session where we have materials and we do finish boards, and we talk about how these things, how we would communicate them and what that means to the environment and to the mood. And the students really feed off of the energy that you're giving them. And so, in kind of, thinking about how we're all connected in this kind of hippy-dippy moment, if you will. I do really think that the energy that you give out, others respond to.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the reasons I think you've done so well for yourself in terms of your personal brand. And I mean, what you're building, people are drawn to it.
We have a lot of fun, especially when it comes to, I'm wearing my one of my favorite Not A Decorator enamel pins. This one, I shouldn't have favorites because I do love all the pins, the tote bags, but this one is inspired by little conversation hearts that you would get at Valentine's Day.
Oh my gosh, totally.
And the hearts say, "Can you decorate my house?" No. And Not A Decorator, while it's really inspired by advocacy and strengthening a really respected title for interior designers across the industry, it's also meant to be a bit fun and a little tongue-in-cheek with, can you decorate my house or take this to your grave, things like that. And just point blank of, Not A Decorator.
Yeah.
It's that way it really opens the door to all the things that interior design is. So it's been fun whenever I'm at the post office dropping things off and they're like, okay, so what does Not A Decorator mean? And I'm like, well, here's all the things that interior design is. And it really provides an opportunity to feel that pride of our industry and have a little fun while doing it.
I love it. And when you say like, that's what it's doing, this is basically a brand of enamel prints. Like it's a business you've created essentially. That's really that. It's not meant to be a get rich program. It's just it's a way to share pride and joy for this industry.
It's that fun, opportunity to think about what is it that you do, what makes our industry unique. And then whenever you have to sit at the Thanksgiving table with that uncle that you only see once a year, and they're like, so what are you decorating these days? Like, you're ready with, a response, an elevator pitch of what you do and why you love to do it and why it's important.
So it's enamel pins. I know at one point there's bags,
tote bags.
How do we find it?
NotADecorator.com.
Oh yeah, that's
or
easy.
on Instagram at Not A Decorator. It's really been fun to send pins and tote bags. I have a t-shirt and also a mug. Because what a better way to designate this is my office mug by having a Not A Decorator mug. And
Absolutely.
it's fun to show up at NeoCon and see someone carrying that tote bag. And I run up to them like a crazy person and ask them if I can take a picture of their bag. But it's so cool. I used to track all of the states that I've sent tote bags and pins to. I've lost track in the coming years. I've been doing this for 6, 7, 8 years now. Wow. And we have to be getting close to all of the states. I have sent a pin to Alaska.
Oh, nice.
I don't think I've sent a pin to Hawaii yet, though.
Okay.
So if there are any listeners from Hawaii, let me know.
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to cross Hawaii off my list, but it's cool
actually just email me and then I'll send you one, whoever you are, Hawaii listener.
That 50th state. But it's cool to see designers because so much of sometimes magazines and publications, we see a lot of design in New York, we see a lot of design in LA and Chicago, and I'm here to champion the mid-markets like Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And I love to see designers that I get orders from Idaho and Oklahoma and South Dakota. And interior design is happening everywhere. And what they're doing is so exciting. And I just love to hear from designers there. And I can't believe that the pins have made it to those areas. So incredibly thankful that other designers enjoy it, find it funny, find it interesting, and are eager to wear their pins or carry their tote bags with them.
I'm so glad we got into that and that you're able to share that, because I think what you're doing is awesome there. And
thank you.
For new people that are just discovering it, yeah, that's really exciting. There's other questions here. So literally, I mean, the title.
I've got a stack of books here. We have to get through them.
There's a question, what if we get it right? Boy, what does that apply to? I mean, I'm thinking, thinking about how retrospectively that makes me feel. It's like, oh, have I gotten it right? Did I get it wrong? I don't even know what it is yet.
Well, it's so interesting. You said it right there. Sometimes you're thinking, what if we get it wrong? And it's that leading with that fear almost of what if we get it wrong. It's a little bit of glass half full, glass half empty type thinking. This book is by one of my favorite climate activists, Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson. Has a great name that you have to say all together.
Yes, no kidding.
Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson. And she spoke at Greenbuild 2 years ago as the keynote speaker. On the last day, I showed up 2 hours early. I'm like the only one in the room, ready to sit at the very front table to hear her speak. And she just published this book, What If We Get It Right? Visions of Climate Futures. And this is actually a great segue or kind of connection from Do You Talk Funny, thinking about that joy and positivity. We think a lot whenever we're designing about how can we create flexible and adaptable solutions. And sometimes those conversations are rooted more so in, well, if this original plan doesn't work, how can we adapt the furniture to make it work? But I'd like to think of adaptable and flexible solutions as, what if our initial arrangement, our configuration for collaboration, for heads down thinking is so successful? How can we continue to expand that into other ways? Thinking about more so, what if we get it right? How can this become even more successful than we had initially thought? And I think of that whenever it comes to material health and ingredient transparency. I think of it too as there's no wrong to making our products healthier, to using better ingredients that aren't detrimental to human and environmental health, so that if we are making it better, it's benefiting the individuals who are making the product. It's benefiting the individuals who are installing the product. If a space is being renovated, taking the space up, there are only benefits to using ingredients and making products that will, still be durable and beautiful and priced great, but aren't made up of chemicals or hazardous materials that are either detrimental, again, to those individuals making them because they are working in the factories, or are detrimental at the end of its life when it may be ending up in a landfill. We're seeing more and more reclamation, recycling programs. Yep. Refurbished furniture, second life. So hopefully we can curb things from going out of the landfill then and finding a second life. But if it does, how can it not leach harmful chemicals into our soil and into our ground and be detrimental to the communities that live most adjacent to these places, which Yep. are often impoverished communities that are lower income and then are adjacent to these harmful materials that we're specifying. So what helps me sleep better at night is thinking about this, beautiful future where we're specifying these great products. The spaces that we're designing are successful and people are healing and working and thriving in what they are doing in those spaces, learning. And they're done in a way that benefits everyone and everything.
I love this, like going deeper into imagining the upside. Like I think there's a bazillion, movies and futures that depict this sort of like deplenished earth, right? And you see the gray skies.
We're back to the doom and gloom.
I know. And you know what? It's like, for whatever reason, it's like, it's easy to imagine that. And it's also easy to imagine things as they are now. But to imagine like a much better version of today, like there just hasn't been enough of that.
Right.
And like, this is really interesting.
So I'm excited to read more of this book. I'm also, though, however, not trying to support toxic positivity either, where like everything's going to be great. We're great. Everything's going to be awesome. You're doing great. You're wonderful. The toxic positivity isn't of interest to me. And I think that Dr. Anna Elizabeth Johnson has, her background is in marine biology, and I think has just a fun and joyful way of thinking about the work that we're doing, thinking about what work needs to be done, and really celebrating the contributions, the unique contributions that each one of us has to bettering the environment and doing it for our friends and family and for our neighbors.
I want to get into the other books also, but, obviously just books and maybe a way of being able to put thoughtful comments on paper like that, obviously it means a lot to you. Like it's part of who you are. What would your book be titled? Like what What are you writing? What would you write? And first, do you want to write a book? Like, is that something like you can imagine doing in 10 or 15
so
years?
Interesting. I don't know what I would. I think about all the time what I would author about ingredient or material ingredients and transparency. I even struggle thinking about how I'm thinking about pitching ideas to conferences and things like that. So I'm not entirely sure what I would write or what the cover page or what the title of that would be. But I would surely find ways to talk about all of my favorite things in there, like these books and Pittsburgh.
I love it. Okay.
And Not A Decorator, and probably sports would come along with that too.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get into you said neighborhood at the end of your statement there. So let's get into that. You grew up. I did not know this prior to the interview, but you grew up in the town of Mr. Rogers, right?
So I actually grew up in central Pennsylvania in a small city called Altoona. But where I live now is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is the hometown of Mr. Rogers. And for those who have ever watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Grew up watching.
It is a staple in all houses in Western Pennsylvania. Thinking about Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, for those who aren't familiar, was a children's show, but really rooted in loving your neighbor, being kind to your neighbor, showing kindness. And in Pittsburgh, Mr. Rogers is in everything that we think about. It's what we think about when we are, designing spaces for our clients. That they are our neighbors. It's the spaces that we're developing sometimes are in neighborhoods adjacent to where my coworkers grew up, and they've seen the transformation that spaces have taken. And so we think a lot about doing things for our neighbors. We have, in Pittsburgh, there are they're quite big, dinosaurs around the town for the Carnegie museums. And there's even a dinosaur dressed up like Fred Rogers. He had a very famous cardigan that he would wear, and every episode would start with him like putting on his shoes. But again, doing what's right for our neighbors, we are working in a way to design spaces at Perkins Eastman that are supporting our neighbors, because quite literally, our neighbors might be working in these spaces or be teaching in their spaces, or their kids are going to college in spaces that we've designed. And it's a very, a passion that we have. Even at Perkins Eastman right now, we're working on this really cool project with a group called the Light Education Initiative. And it is an after-school program that is seeking to inspire and empower the next generation of humanitarians. And this nonprofit, this organization, the Light Education Initiative, was started by my neighbor.
Oh, no way.
And I could throw a tennis ball from my house to his house. And he started this organization, which does such incredible work for K through 12 programs. They have these really great spaces called Light Centers, which is focused on creating safe spaces in schools for students to become the next generation of leaders. And we're excited to be working with Light on some exciting opportunities. And it just goes to show that you never know what work your neighbor might be doing, and it will turn into a design project.
Oh, I love this. Lean into, your neighborhood a little more, or even just the word neighborhood just carries an element of friendliness to it. Gosh, and this, as you were talking about Mr. Rogers, I'm imagining all these people around Pittsburgh with these WWMRD bracelets on.
I've never seen any of those. I wonder if they exist. They must. But in Pittsburgh, we know more than anywhere that what do they say, that there's less than 2 degrees of separation between us. In Pittsburgh, I think there's less than half of a degree of separation between us. And we show how passionate we are about our projects and our work, and how we are designing them, the materials that we're using. We're working with Pittsburgh has an incredible maker community. We have great artisans that are creating things from ceramic tile to lighting to furniture that we are incorporating into our projects. And it's such a great story to work with our neighbors to produce these incredible products for our projects, and then sharing that joy with our clients so they become showpieces to them. And we're all supporting our neighbors. So I'm very thankful that we have such an incredible maker and artisan community in Pittsburgh, and that we've really embraced at Perkins Eastman, especially in our Pittsburgh studio, incorporating locally made products in every project.
I think storytelling is, such a big part of obviously picking products.
It's been woven through our book series so far.
Is there a story you love to tell?
Oh, this is a good one. This will probably come as no surprise when I get to the punchline for everyone, but when I was a kid, I would go to events and activities with my parents, and we were always the last ones to leave. And it's because my mom and my dad would talk to every single person.
It doesn't surprise me.
In the room.
I don't know them, but it doesn't surprise me.
I was always so annoyed as a kid because I just wanted to go do something else. But they talked to everyone. They knew everyone. They knew all of the neighbors up and down the street. Wherever event we were at, like I said, talked to everyone in the room. And I have become that exact same person. When I go to an event, I love to talk to every single person in their room. I want to know everything that's going on with my coworkers and meet our neighbors. I'm the one that's walking our dog through the neighborhood, just like waiting for one of our neighbors to talk to me. But I love knowing the incredible community that we're working with. I love, knowing our clients a little bit more. I want to know what their favorite sports team is, because we also...
Is this like is this a deep curiosity, or is this a love of people? Like which one is it, or is it somewhere in the middle?
I'm definitely very curious, but I love talking to people. I think nothing energizes me more than talking to some really interesting people, hearing great stories. I love to hear, more about where people live. I like to hear about, funny stories and funny things that have happened to people, because I love watching rom-coms and, feeling good and laughing. And so I'm always very interested in just learning more about that. And I think that's what has made our industry so unique. It makes, our studio so unique at Perkins Eastman. The coworkers, these are people that I invited to my wedding. Yeah. And that's how close we are with our coworkers, with our friends. And so, if you invite me to an event, I will be there till the very end.
Be there till the end.
Because I will be talking to every single person, just learning more about them.
So we had this IIDA roundtable here in Chicago in January, and one of the guest speakers was a researcher and professor who was studying like basically social interaction between strangers. And the big research, and it was kind of funny because he tested it on the room and we answered the same as the rest of the world answered, is that basically what he would do is you'd have a stranger that you're going to talk to, and you would, confidentially fill out how well you expect this to go between 1 and 10, right? And then at the end, you fill out how well did it go. And inevitably, like, everyone has super low expectations. Not you, okay? Maybe you're an exception. Most people have super low expectations of what a conversation with a stranger would be like. Yet every time it happens, they outcome is always so much better than what they expected. And so it's kind of funny, like you've already figured this out, like you've already cracked the code. You already know.
I'm going to talk about weather, sports, or how far I probably ran that day. And if one of those things will be interesting. And if all else fails, I'll talk about the environment.
Well, sports, in Pittsburgh, it really just depends, I guess, right?
Yeah. It's funny because when I first moved to Pittsburgh, I watched, the Steelers and the Penguins, but I didn't really care about sports. I actually would tell a lot of emerging designers or students that I would talk to, like, it's okay if you don't care about sports, but you just need to know what's happening because you live in Pittsburgh and you need to know if it's baseball season or if it's football season. And you have to just use that in conversation. And then the more that I did that, then I would get home and then I'm like, well, I know the game's on, so I'll watch that. And now I'm actively trying to become more of a Pittsburgher all the time. I'll drop a yins in conversation. In Pittsburgh, we say, like, hey, yins, guys.
Okay.
Instead of like you all or
all right.
Y'all. We don't say that in Pittsburgh. We say yins.
Yins.
So I'm trying to drop yins in email and conversation. And I just love the blue collar, working class atmosphere of Pittsburgh. I think it's a great place for so many reasons.
Yeah, this yins thing, it's just got me cracking up. So like I grew up in Connecticut and my PE teacher was like a Jersey guy. I remember him. First name was Mark. I can't remember his last name, but I could picture him perfectly. And he was always, hey, yous guys, shut yous mouths. That was his like go-to phrase. That's like the only thing I remember him ever saying.
In Pittsburgh, it's almost exactly the same, except yins guys with a Z really at the end.
Wow. That was quite a fun detour. I'm glad we went there. You've got one more book on this table. You'll have to take us through why you've picked this out.
So this is a particularly hard one that you're probably not going to read from front to back, but it's called The Drawdown. It's the most comprehensive plan ever proposed to reverse global warming. And what actually really stood out to me about this book is really that it talks about avoiding military language.
Interesting.
Because it says much of the rhetoric and writing about climate change is violent. The war on carbon, the fight against global warming, the frontline battles. I think too that this just, adds to that stress.
Oh, that doom and gloom.
That doom and gloom of anxiety, because we're talking about, well, we're doing this because we're fighting for the planet. And we are, but you feel a lot of pressure. You feel very small, thinking about how can I, in my role, make a change that will have a lasting impact. And so I think really it was that line that sparked my idea for our conversation is, well, if we're not using those types of words in that type of language to talk about climate, to talk about climate change and the work that we do in interior design and architecture to impact that. Well, if we're not talking about it that way, how else should we think about it? And that's where I thought about with humor, thinking about on the, joy and positivity and thinking about why we do this for our neighbors. I
was just about to say, I'm thinking about our neighbors. Like it just, you tied it all together so nicely.
Did I take the punchline from you?
No, I'm just enthusiastic about it. That's all.
This book in particular has lots of different climate solutions across all different sectors, from reducing food waste to, bio ingredients, to empowering girls and women and why that's important to, bettering the climate. And so this is really definitely a coffee table book that you flip through a little bit, find the topic that interests you the most. But it's, incredibly interesting to think about, again, all of the solutions that are possible within, I'm sure climate or architecture and design is referenced in here as well. But we all play a unique role, whether it's in the way that we're talking about design or how we're designing the products or how we're designing our spaces, these unique opportunities to incorporate, just a little bit to make things better in the work that we do.
I love it. You brought such a positivity today. You are the picture of love what you do. And I guess I would ask, I have a couple love what you do questions.
Okay.
The first one, yeah.
Can I start with a request?
Please.
For our listeners?
Yes.
So we've mentioned a couple of books. I didn't mention exactly. I do have a small Mr. Rogers book, but between these four that I mentioned, I started with the confession that I haven't read or finished reading these.
Yes, I love that.
Which is only...
You're so honest.
Honest or embarrassing. So I'd like to invite the podcast listeners to read these books with me. If one of the messages from one of these stood out to you, hope you'll look for a copy of one. Let me know, read it. We can read it together. Let's pick a book to start with and see how we can tease out some of these ideas and apply them to material health or to design and architecture and talk about that together.
I absolutely love that. I will join your club.
My book club. And I'm a terrible book reader. I'm slow at reading books.
You have such good intent, though.
I know, I really do. And so that's why I'm hoping. I've gotten invited to other book clubs, and they're like, when we review the book, we have a happy hour. And I'm like, I'm a lot better at the happy hour part than the reading the book part. But now I have to stick to it. These are books and authors that I love and I'm very interested in. So I'll use this extra enthusiasm and excitement and interest from the listeners to read some of these together.
You're on record. Like, you
I
have
know,
no
we
choice
have
now.
to do this. So please, someone tell me you want to read this with me.
I'm sure you will get some takers, Jane. All right. I love what you do question. This is, every day, like, I'm sure every day isn't perfect, right? So how do you love what you do even on days when it's hard to?
I keep a little archive of things, either if it's just like in my OneNote on my computer, or I've printed out emails that someone has sent. So on those days where it's really not a lot of fun or it's very challenging, I look at these little snips. It might be from a client that says, like, this just went great. We really feel like we're being heard and that this is all coming to life. It might be, I've heard from a student from that ACE student mentoring program.
Nice.
Heard from one student that after our session, it solidified that she wants to go and study interior design in college. And even when I was more involved in IIDA in our local chapter, putting on an event, got an email from an attendee just saying how awesome it was, how much they loved the conversation. And I keep those little things nearby, and hopefully I find them on days when I'm not feeling so great or when things are challenging, that I'll go back and just read those. And it reminds me that the work that we do is worth doing. That's a Leslie Knope quote from the end of Parks and Rec.
Oh, nice. That's a beautiful little life hack to that question. And, there's another half of what you said there, which is interesting, which is the person who sent the email, right? Like, it's a great reminder to just be really generous with our compliments. I think sometimes we feel that I think sometimes we don't compliment or we don't validate others because we feel like our compliments are beneath them.
Or it won't matter.
Yeah.
They won't see it. And it goes such a long way to just shoot off a quick note. An interesting thing that you heard from them or appreciated that they shared. That goes a long way too. And so maybe other people have little archives of nice notes or things like that that remind them of the good times whenever they might be stuck on a really challenging detail or a tough deadline. It's just something nice to look at.
Everybody loves fan mail.
Right?
They really do.
Let's bring back fan mail.
Yes. Maybe you'll get some from today's episode. Who knows?
That'd be fun.
It would be fun. Jane, you are fantastic.
Thanks for having me. This is a great time. We always have a great conversation. Thanks for letting me talk about my favorite things, my favorite books that I haven't read, to talk about material health, the work that we do at Perkins Eastman that really, fuels my days. Not a Decorator and
yes,
Pittsburgh.
Love it. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me here on Love What You Do.